Hi, Leo fam. I am realizing the more I look into October and the energy therein, the more profound and deep it gets. And the fixed energy specifically will be going through some pretty big themes of exposure, truth, and preparedness. And Leo, you are the ones, when I say exposure, I think Leo is the one that will be feeling that exposure energy more than anybody else this month. Which, as much as Leos are big hearts, performers, very open, direct people, all amazing qualities, Leos are also very good at playing it cool for the things that really matter. Leos can play it cool on things that really matter inside of themselves for a long time and kind of play their hand to their close to their chest and keep it really easy breezy. So when I say exposure, I'm talking about these parts of the Leo heart, the Leo soul, that has a hard time being exposed because it's meaningful. This phase started in September because we have, the big ticket item of October and into November is this Venus retrograde. This is an intense transit. It always will be. It always has been. We get a whole bunch of downloads. We get a whole bunch of information. We get a whole bunch of answers and clarity in a very tiny window of time. I mean, with the pre and post shadow phases, we're looking at about a 3-month cycle, but still, even with that, it's so poignant and so pronounced and so crisp and clear that we get a lot done in a short amount of time. So it's intense. And as we kind of search through this, Leo, we started this search in September with as things start to show up, as answers start to show up, you're going to want to hide, you're going to want to check out. That continues into October and in fact intensifies. So where you may have started to get a few answers in September and started to feel like maybe you had a direction in September, October amplifies it a little bit more. Let's see what came out. Death. Okay, that's fitting because Venus is going to be retrograde in Scorpio to start off. So it goes retrograde around the 6th and will retrograde in Scorpio all the way until October 31st, at which point it starts retrograding into Libra. So Scorpio energy is always interesting for Leos, like that 4th house energy. It's a square energy. It's another fixed sign. And, it's that tender, hidden, secret moon side of ourselves getting lit up by this retrograde. So, like I said, exposure is there. We have a new moon in Libra, which will be nice. That's a communicative house. So it's really interesting because while you have this Venus retrograde and such a tender part of yourself, having a new moon there, you can start to set some intentions about how you want to express and connect with that energy. Chariot. And I'm just realizing, I'm pretty sure the Death card came up in September too, didn't it? There's this big transformation going on, and it's much bigger than just some loss of self, loss of a path. It has to do with how Leos are showing up to their lives. Page of Wands. Information coming in. New dawn. New dawn. If you're ruled by the sun and you act as kind of the sun in the world, and then that exposure is put on you, a spotlight is put on you, that's uncomfortable when you're normally the one that's the spotlight. There's something going on there with that. There's something really triggering the Leo energy. It's really calling up some survival tactics and some old soul, old wound stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, October, you could just be noticing that your dreams are really intense, that those like fear thoughts that you have at 2 a.m. are really intense. The Strength card just popped out. Yeah. So the cards are actually really beautiful. What I'm seeing is the play out of this kind of exposure theme is going to evolve relatively consistently. Oh my gosh. 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Wands. There's the resistance. This is an amplification of what we started to talk about in September. Yep, this is like, okay, we had phase 1 in September, now we're having phase 2, and it's this weird thing where like the more you get exactly what you want, the more that your old fears, your old ways of pinching off are trying to get a hold on you and trying to keep in the game, trying to keep in your life. Like your old survival tactics are just like waking up, trying to keep you safe. It's like the more that you're showing up on this path, the more there's a part of you that wants to shut down. And that's what I'm saying. This is stage 2. So, okay, it started to show up in September. We started to engage with this conversation in September. In October, it's like, okay, now we're really going to get there. We're going to completely wake up these old ways, and we're going to figure out a way to get rid of them. Tower. Oh my goodness. Leos. Don't worry. I've got you. This just makes a lot of sense. In fact, an Ace of Swords, okay. In fact, the way that I'm like seeing these cards, it's almost dual level. Like normally I kind of look at how it plays out, throughout the month, I have like 8 cards here. But if you look at these layers as the 2 layers of how you're existing in the world, you'll see what I mean. Because on one layer, we have all this good stuff right here. Death, Chariot, Page of Wands, Strength. We have all this beautiful forward motion energy, right? Getting everything you want, getting the resurrection, getting the new sunrise, getting the information, getting the clarity, feeling empowered, feeling like you're on your path, feeling like you know your path. And then we have the resistance, and then we have the fear, and then we have the worry and the demons and the survival, trying to get an edge in there. And there really is kind of a battle going on inside the Leo heart this month. Like, it's going to make me cry. It's like when I see those stressed cards, what I see is like, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like picking up a pair of they talk about rose-colored glasses. Well, there's chaos glasses. And they put a filter over everything that you see that it looks terrifying. No matter what the scenario is, even if it's the exact scenario you wanted, or even if it's very explainable way, even if it's something that's just going to be short term or something that's a little misunderstanding, it amplifies it all. And I'm kind of seeing that there is going to be a true temptation to feed into that fear voice. Because with a Venus retrograde, we're hitting into our deepest internal core. And if that's being touched, then we gotta survive, right? This is a good month for positive affirmation practice. As cheesy as it sometimes seems, especially when we're in the midst of some stuff, just saying, I know I can handle whatever comes my way, is really powerful. Because here's the thing. The foundation of this reading is rebirth, commitment, new opportunity, embracing of a big leadership identity. You have 3 major arcana cards as the base and foundation of this reading. And 3 major arcana cards that are absolutely about embodying your power, taking it on your shoulders, becoming it, creating it, standing in your seat of power. Owning every second of it. And you have news coming in. You have doors opening up. You have the communication you need. You have the firepower all around you and the knowledge of how to do it, how to show up in each day, in each moment, and do it. But look what wounds come up, my loves. The Five of Pentacles and the Five of Wands. They are illusions. They are illusions. They're little trivial glitches. They have no control over you unless you give it to them. Unless you give these states of mind time and attention. You can choose to feel less than. You can choose to feel that you'll never be understood and you'll be locked out. You can choose to feel a lack of lovability. And I know that voice is there, and it's so tempting to let it take you over. And so tempting to put up your hackles, start a fight, and push people away. The other thing with Venus retrograde is it can kind of muddle communication channels as well. I mean, it's not Mercury retrograde, but because Venus is so much about how we care and give, and it's retrograde, and it's going back through all these old pain bodies and all these old wounds and all these old things, all these old experiences that caused us to even develop some of these survival tactics in the first place are coming up. And I mean, a lot of this wounding, it happens within our family center, which Scorpio represents for Leos, especially if you're a Leo rising. Scorpio represents your internal home space, and so many people have experienced deep traumas, deep trainings at a very young age that have caused them to develop these external shells that keep them supposedly safe, right? And it takes a lot of conscious work, a lot of conscious just showing up and practicing with yourself to release yourself from this. So I'm seeing that show up just for the pure reason that as long as this is here, it makes it harder for the beautiful things to show up. It really does. And it's okay. We don't have to judge this. That's the most important thing I want to tell you guys. Like, you do not have to judge. I'm sorry. It really upsets me when Leo is doing this. It like super upsets me. You don't have to judge this. Just know it's there. It's okay. It's okay. Here's the thing though. It might look like all brimstone and distress here, but this is the thing. Tower is the breakthrough. Tower is the breakthrough card. It topples. I always joke, that a lot of people have like a despot ruling in their mind who loves these things right here. And it tends to be, really ego-based voice that wants you to like work harder and be more and get more things done and do all that. And I'm always saying, we've got to depose the despot. It's time to like put that despot, have like a nice backseat placement where it doesn't really have power. What is the tower symbolizing? It symbolizes the toppling of the aristocracy, of an old power dynamic. It symbolizes the utter destruction of something that is no longer serving you. A lot of times, the tower shows up and people don't like it because it's like, sometimes it can be about a sudden shift. But you know what? A lot of times those really extreme external shifts like that are there because you've been asking for a shift. You've been wanting a shift and you didn't know how to topple it yourself. So something came in to help you do it. But I don't see it. I see it as the choice to topple these old survival tactics, to put away the chaos glasses. Because there's clarity in the end. If you can topple, if you can just, you don't judge it, you just decide. You won't live in the confines of that lens anymore. Because you have all this good stuff around you. Because you are being welcomed into a new version of yourself every day. And it is scary. And it does mean that you have to grow into a new being and that there are going to be new ways for you to live in the world. There are going to be new ways that you have to show up to your life. And yeah, There may be some uncomfortable things with stepping into that new role. It may be scary, but it's beautiful. And in the end, you get the answers you need. In the end, you get the clarity you need. In the end, there is a precision going on there, my Leos. By the end of the month, we're in Scorpio season. We have a full moon in Taurus on the 24th, I believe. And Prince of Swords. I'm pulling extra cards from my Cosmic Tarot. And Leo, I've been only pulling one extra card for most signs this month, but you're getting more because, okay, you can see this clarity, right? You can see that where there's a muddle, there's clarity. Where there was questioning, there's clarity. That full moon in Taurus on the 24th will be illuminating all of this. You're stepping into something much bigger than you've ever been in before. And there's some big resistance to that. Feels uncomfortable. 5 of Swords. Ace of Swords. You can see the theme here. I think you can see the theme here. What are you so afraid of? Are you afraid you aren't worthy of it? Are you afraid that you won't be able to handle what is thrown your way? Are you afraid of opening the next door? Are you afraid people will find out once you stepped into this empowered role that you were always just faking it? All this swords energy at the end, it's probing, right? Exposure. That was the word that came to mind when I thought about the Leo energy. Exposure, exposure, exposure. And not bad exposure, not, leaked personal video exposure. When you are showing up to who you really are and the path is unfolding before you and you can see it and you're actually on it, what greater exposure is there to all your haunts, all your hopes, all your vulnerabilities, all your fears, all your dreams and your nightmares? They will be shown, they will be seen. You are on the stage. There is no hiding. And that is some tender space to be in. The stakes will seem so huge. They will seem monumental. They will seem like if you fail at this, if you can't handle this, everything could topple down, but that's not the reality. The reality is that the things that are showing up for you this month, which are amazing and beautiful and really powerful and quite intense, were always meant for you. You can't mess it up. If you fall down for a day, or you have a hard time speaking your mind, or if you have somebody challenging you, or if you really just get the phone call you wanted and the trip you wanted and all the travel you wanted, and you're just scared that now that it's here, it's going to disappear, give those fears a moment of grace and let them be. I always say, I love Elizabeth Gilbert's strategy for fear, which is to write it a letter. A very loving, kind letter. One that acknowledges it has been there to protect you. It wanted to do such good things for you. And to also acknowledge that you are now gracefully asking for it to just sit in the back. To pose the despot. Because I tell you what, with this Venus retrograde, with the tender underbelly of everybody being exposed to this Venus retrograde, oh, it's so tempting to dig your heels in even deeper, even harder to some old set ways because, to some extent, it works. It's kept you floating, but, it's up to you. It's up to you. It really is. If you want to do that, or if you want to just take those breaths, write that beautiful letter, take some extra time to check in, because what you're really being asked to do is step in to your role even more, to step into this being and this identity even more than you ever have before. And that's the scariest point. That's the point where you just want to call a taxi and go home. But it's not about going back to the old idea of home. It's about building a new idea of home. And that's what all this foundational energy is about. You're building a new idea of home. But you bring yourself with you wherever that home is. You don't have to be afraid of this home. It will hold you. It will hold you. I promise. This is a really, really powerful one. I love you, Leo family. I swear, this is one of those months where some things I think will seem really scary and overwhelming at the beginning, and you might even think this is bad, like this isn't going well, I'm not sure, and will blossom by the end of the month into something beautiful. It's one of those months where everything is kind of on its head, so just be kind of aware of that. It's kind of shape-shifting, MC Escher kind of stuff going on. And that means we've got to just check in. Check in with our old themes or old patterns. You know, this is a great time for meditation. This is a great time for timeline regressive meditation, visualized meditation, where you go back in time and you make peace with those old child beings of yourself that used, you know, survival tactics to get through and to integrate all of that. It really is a beautiful time for that. I'm sending you guys so much love. And of course, you can work with me. Just plan ahead, because I tend to book up around 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time. So I'll leave my website below so you can check that out. You can also connect with me on Instagram at @SARAHTAROT. I would love to see you all there. I am a Leo sun, so this is my family. You all are my people, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk to you about these things. And I'm also wearing PinkLune, my gorgeous friend who does all of this handmade jewelry. So I'll leave her Etsy shop and the 15% off promo code below. I'll see you in November, and I think we're going to need to do some big energy checkups in October, so keep an eye out for all of that on Instagram and YouTube, and I love you all so much. I'll see you soon.